Ambassador Hill, thank you again very, very much for having accepted our invitation at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy. It was an honor to have you here. Just like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Based on your experience in Iraq, do you feel that there is a real possibility to move away from the ethnic and religious tensions in order to achieve lasting peace? Is Iraq really ready to fully govern itself?
Well, this is a work in progress. It's not easy. But actually, I think we should be encouraged by the government they put together. This is a government that involves Shia, who have the prime ministership, and they are the majority group. It also has Sunni, and it has Kurds. So everyone is represented. Now, the question will be, will people in the future see themselves less as Shia or less as Sunni and will identify in some other way? It's hard to say, but I think one of the encouraging signs in Iraq was the fact that major oil companies are there. There is going to be a tremendous increase in incomes in Iraq, and I think they will be able to address some of these economic problems. And as they begin to address the economic problems, I think some of the sectarian issues are going away. It's very important to understand that the people who won the elections, even though they represented Shia or represented Sunni, they were far less sectarian than the people who lost the elections.
Sure, and in that case, maybe the economic bridges might help in actually easing some of the cultural bridges. Second question, in your opinion, did the Obama administration make the right decision in scrapping the, quote, missile shield plan in Poland and the Czech Republic?
Well, I've been away from that issue for some time, but I think it was it's a tough issue, and it had to be done carefully with the Poles and carefully with the Czechs, because as the Poles would say, nothing about us without us. And so the concern, of course, would be the perception that somehow we cut a deal with the Russians at the expense of the Poles. My sense is that we worked it with the Poles, we worked it with the Czechs, and my sense is we have not done any lasting damage to those relationships.
Is cultural diplomacy succeeding in building bridges between people and societies in Eastern Europe? Can you give us some examples of initiatives that you have overseen throughout your career in this region?
Well, for example, I've worked a lot in the Balkans, and a lot of what needed to be done was to show people that there's more than just a government that is a government that's there to protect a nation. That is, governments do a lot of different things, provide a lot of different services. And so one of the things we worked on was to get more NGOs to foster civil society, to bring them together with U.S. NGOs, often things that had nothing to do with government. And I felt that there was a real receptivity to that. I think too often in the past, everything had to be in government, and there wasn't enough sort of non-governmental actors. I think that is really changing, certainly changing in the Balkans, and I think it's because we addressed issues, cultural issues, which were not directly on the political fault lines.
I agree. I think the past of cultural diplomacy tended to be government to government. The future clearly seems to be citizen to citizen. So I think that would be exactly the point you raised. Final question. Do you feel that the direction the Obama administration has taken in terms of foreign policy will ultimately improve world peace in relation to what was achieved under George W. Bush, particularly concerning the Middle East, but also in other areas of expertise, such as Eastern Europe or Korea?
I think what the Obama administration is trying to do is to encourage partnerships. And I don't think it's a process that will succeed overnight, but I think it's the right approach. I would caution, though, against the view that somehow everyone in the Bush administration was somehow opposed to partnerships. I mean, we did a lot of it in Asia, but I think the idea is the Obama administration really wants to kind of try to reach out and have dialogue, and a sort of respectful dialogue. And I think as long as we can kind of take the time to do this. One of the problems in Washington is everyone's so busy doing things that have nothing to do with other countries. So frequently we're in the situation where a foreign minister of another country comes here, can barely get to see the Secretary of State. And so I think we have to devote a little more time to dealing with these relationships. And as George Shultz used to say, tend the garden.
Well, thank you very, very much for your reflections. We look forward to having you again at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you.